what really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And welcome to our show today. It is Tuesday, January 12th, 2021, getting into the week here. We have a lot to talk about. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials and keeping us out of trouble. And we're going to do what we always do. I'm going to do news until I run out of news. Then we're going to open up the phone lines, let you call in with your comments, questions, opinions, and observations here. Boy, things are really moving rapidly in the world of social media here. Gab is reporting 600,000 new users in one day. And the traffic is just pouring on in there, and the established social media corporations are getting slammed very hard by what they did. Now, Gab is still in the process of putting in new servers to handle the load. Talk about a sudden success story here, and they're trying to get that up and running. I noticed that they have given Donald Trump's Gab page heightened priority, so you can get to it and see it, and basically it's gab.com/realdonaldtrump. And it'll get you right on in there so you can see what it is he's saying. So anyway, Andrew Torba, who founded Gab, he's ecstatic, and he's saying, they're going to try or they are in the process of adding new servers to try and handle the increased traffic here. Now, Torba basically did an interview with Revolver News about his plan to save free speech and with it America. And of course, he's responding to when Twitter basically purged Donald Trump from the platform, and like hyenas, other big tech companies followed suit: Facegram, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and Stripe. And basically, they banned the President of the United States of America. I mean, talk about arrogance. So this full spectrum unpersoning of the president from the social media marks a clarifying inflection point in Americans' understanding of what kind of a country they live in and who or what ultimately controls it. And right now we're seeing big tech trying to run the country, a job for which they were not elected. Now, already the established legacy social media, if you will, they're paying a huge price for having done what they did. And apparently, Twitter stock fell 12% yesterday, and the share price decline wiped $5 billion from the company's $41 billion market capitalization. So it's definitely happening there. According to Business Insider, the stock likely fell because investors are worried that the ban will diminish interest in the platform, because after all, President Trump was the #1 draw to Twitter by a very wide margin. And of course, it's just poor business to kill off your #1 source of income, but that's what Twitter just did. Another little article, this one coming out of Revolver, saying that America has experienced a coup, but it wasn't by Trump. When I first saw the article, I thought they were going to be talking about the stolen election, but no, they're talking about Twitter banning the president's account, triggering a flurry of these other companies to follow suit. And so that's another face of the coup d'etat against the President of the United States of America. Now, Parler, or Parlay, however you want to pronounce it, has filed a lawsuit against Amazon over the ban from the Amazon Web Service servers. Says they're colluding with Twitter. They leaked emails to BuzzFeed, and apparently, Amazon violated their contract in the process, and so they're suing for breach of contract. And I hope they win. I really do hope they win. But the ban is spreading throughout conventional corporate media. Cumulus Media is now threatening their conservative radio hosts with termination, and basically has ordered their talk show hosts to stop suggesting that the election was stolen, or they will be fired. So I mean, they're really trying to erase this from the public memory, but this is not going away anytime soon here. France, Germany, Mexico, and Australia have joined a growing chorus of international outcry over the censorship of Donald Trump. They've never seen anything like it. And they are, of course, very concerned that their own tech companies might try and do the same thing to them somewhere down the road as aid to the opposition here. And now the ACLU came on out with an article in the New York Times on why the Union of Silicon Valley Monopolies to remove Parler from the internet is so problematic, and pointing out that the tech monopolies, the masters of the universe, have used brute force 3 times in 3 months to manipulate the election. First, they censored the New York Post stories about Hunter Biden. Then they banned Trump. Now they're trying to destroy Parler. But apparently, Parler has already found a new hosting service. They're having to rebuild the site from scratch, but they're going to be up and running in the very, very near future. Now, millions of WhatsApp users are abandoning the app, and they're switching over to Telegram or Signal ahead of a change in the WhatsApp privacy policy that will force them to share their personal data with Facebook. And people right now are very, very hostile to that idea. And so apparently there's going to be an update to WhatsApp on February 8th. And it affects WhatsApp users in all countries outside Europe and Great Britain, where there are strict data protection laws. So I don't use WhatsApp anyway. Story coming out of Patriot Rising here, the woke purge. And again, they're talking about Twitter's suspension of Donald Trump, how it is a sign of the tyranny to come. And back when it was obvious the election was stolen, I said, we're on the verge of a dictatorship because the Biden administration is going to have to absolutely crack down on the American people as a whole merely to survive the circumstances of its coup d'etat or usurpation, whatever phrase you want to use there. And so this coup d'etat was not for our benefit, not for we the people. It's for the money junkies to get richer and so forth and so on. But we're seeing cancel culture at work, up to and including the President of the United States of America. Now, Elon Musk has waded into the discussion, saying that people are going to be super unhappy with big tech as the de facto arbiter of free speech. He certainly got that one right. Anyway, and again, they're just pounding on the President of the United States. Deutsche Bank and Signature Bank are severing ties with Trump and his organization following the election theft and the MAGA protests. But apparently Trump still owes them $300 million in loans. And apparently this was a very sudden decision. But again, everybody's afraid. We all saw the election get stolen. We all know what happened, and we're angry. It wasn't the Antifa going through the Capitol building last Wednesday that scared the government. It was the million people outside who showed up that indicated the scale of disgust with what's going on in this country. Getting on back to the banks abandoning Trump here, another story from Revolver. Republicans must stop the big banks from destroying the First Amendment with financial deplatforming. And it's definitely a real situation. Anybody that's out there that is a conservative, you get deplatformed or you get unplugged from monetization. They're basically trying to bankrupt the conservatives and get rid of us that way here. All righty, another story. This one is coming out of Blabberbuzz, talking about the obvious security failure during last Wednesday's protests, and saying this is also evidence the event was staged. And according to writer Michael Yon, he's saying the amount of security on the Capitol Wednesday was unbelievable. There was no real security at all. It was like a straight shot, like Atlanta Airport, with lights telling you where to go. And he said the loss of security looked like an offer to proceed to break into the Capitol. And that's exactly what it was. So anyway, fewer than 100 people have so far been arrested in connection with last Wednesday's protests. Police are now scrambling to catch up with the many who got away, thanks to the fact that there were so many people on the ground. The Capitol Police were completely outnumbered. They've arrested a tech CEO, a Proud Boys leader was arrested in Hawaii, and a former cop was turned into the authorities by his ex. Must have been an acrimonious divorce. What can I tell you? Up in New York, the State Bar Association is moving to remove Rudy Giuliani's membership. I mean, they're just coming down hard on everybody who tried to oppose them in this coup d'etat. It's just going to be ugly. Now, earlier today, there was a story circulating around about how a page at the official State Department website said that Donald Trump and Mike Pence's term in office actually ended last night. And a lot of people picked it up and said, you know, what's going on? It turned out a disgruntled staffer maliciously edited the page as a prank. So you can't even trust the official U.S. government. Well, you couldn't trust the official U.S. government websites anyway. Look at all the lies the CDC has been telling. Well, they're not officially part of the government. Anyway, the House is now scheduled to vote on impeachment tomorrow morning. Pelosi's trying to drum up votes against Trump here. Apparently, you know, they've issued an ultimatum to Trump that he needs to resign, or to Vice President Mike Pence that he needs to invoke the 25th Amendment. But actually, Trump and Pence are better served going forward with the impeachment because, according to the Constitution, it takes a 2/3 vote of the Senate to convict and remove. And so this is not really going to go anywhere. It's just going to be grist for the corporate media mill to say, bad orange man, bad orange man, bad orange man. And Democrat Senator Joe Manchin is saying, yeah, this is all so ill-advised. So we'll see what's going to happen. Meanwhile, House Republicans are calling for Trump's censure. And say we can do that and avoid the impeachment, which will be damaging to our democracy. Well, I got a newsflash for you. This last stolen election was very damaging to our democracy. And somebody really needs to be paying attention to that and not just try to bury it. Some of these things are just getting petty and vindictive and mean. Apparently, Forbes media chief content officer and an editor of Forbes are literally threatening any company that might hire any of Trump's White House press secretaries, past or present. It's, you know, shun them all kind of a thing. Facebook is removing all content that mentions Stop the Steal ahead of the inauguration. They're absolutely purging their database of all of that. And Facebook says the move is supposedly to remove content that could incite further violence. Well, I'm sorry, the violence was incited by the election fraud and by the failure of the courts to deal with it and the failure of the corporate media to report on it. That's where the anger is coming from, and not just what people are saying on Facebook here. Now, yesterday, Donald Trump approved the District of Columbia's emergency declaration following a request by Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser. And apparently, they've declared an emergency exists in the District of Columbia and ordered federal assistance to supplement the district's response efforts in anticipation of there being more violence as we get closer to Inauguration Day. So here we have the person the Democrats claim is the most popular president in U.S. history, needing 10,000 troops to protect him as he's sworn in. Just a little something that you might want to think about here. Up in Lone Pine, California, it's a conservative-leaning town near Nevada. And in the last election, 59.9% voted Republican, 38.6% voted Democrat. And apparently there is still a ballot box drop on the sidewalk near City Hall. It was never picked up, and any ballots presumably in it remain uncounted. So it gets a little weird there. All right. People are already looking forward to the Biden-Harris administration with a great deal of dread. And this article from News Target is out there basically listing some of the things that we can expect from Biden and Harris. Biden's already said this. They're going to enforce nationwide mandatory masks and mandatory vaccines, all under fear of arrest. I'm sorry, you're not getting near me with that needle. Declare the Insurrection Act under Biden and weaponize the U.S. military against patriots and Trump supporters by labeling them all terrorists. This is a violation of posse comitatus. Run a new slew of false flag operations to further paint Trump supporters as violent insurrectionists. The very same crisis actors used on the January 6th riots are available for more acting gigs, and they already own all the MAGA gear to wear as costumes for CNN's cameras. Use forced COVID lockdowns to further crush the U.S. economy and drive the population onto government subsidies and food stamps, placing most Americans under direct control of the regime. They're going to raise the minimum wage to $23 per hour across the nation, causing a total collapse of the small business sector and driving tens of millions to unemployment and homelessness. Next, they're going to tear down the border wall and encourage millions of illegals to swarm into America. Actually, I disagree with that one. I think Biden is going to complete the wall, not to keep the illegals out, but to keep the American people in, because I hear so many people say, we got to leave. We got to get out of this place here. And they're going to outlaw all AR-15s and semi-automatic rifles, even hunting weapons, destroy the Second Amendment, and confiscate all guns held by private citizens. They're also going to try to ban arm braces, 80% lowers, standard capacity magazines, and most ammunition. In fact, the legislation has already been introduced for that one. They're going to crank up the money printing machines over at the Federal Reserve and create trillions in new debt to bail out the poorly run democratic cities and states, further destroying the dollar and edging us closer to financial collapse. They're going to hit us with a new carbon tax to loot the people who drive cars, buy food, or use electricity. And it just goes on and on and on. They are talking about wiping out $1 trillion in student debt, dumping it instead on the taxpayers, which means we're all paying for left-wing university indoctrination. The NIH will be funded with tens of billions of dollars to create more biological weapons. And they're going to pursue the economy-crushing Green New Deal that will crush America's economy and lead to mass famine due to the collapse of farming. They're certainly going to reinforce the election stealing machine by installing more compromised voting machines across America so that Democrats never lose another election ever again. And the goal apparently is to achieve a state of the nation where the votes of real voters no longer matter at all. And of course, we saw that happening last November. They're going to use eminent domain laws to seize rural land and drive people back into the cities where they are easier to control and monitor. All private health insurance will be outlawed and healthcare rationing will be put in place. All righty, so it's going to be ugly. It is going to be ugly. And they're going to go after the First Amendment with new hate speech laws. Okay, we're going to take a break here for commercials, and we'll be back with more news after these few words. And welcome back to our show here. And again, a friendly reminder that as we head into 2021, a year that is going to make 2020 look like a summer picnic, Republic Broadcasting Network needs your help to keep doing what we're doing, which is bringing information to the American people so that they can make good choices. And once again, the address to send a check money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. And all of this information is at the top of republicbroadcasting.org. The network thanks you. Okay, getting on back to the news here. Apparently, Texas lawmakers are considering secession from the United States, preferring independence over life under democratic Marxism. And apparently several other states are showing an interest. Now, Texas Representative Kyle Biederman was on Newsmax TV yesterday. And Kyle is leading the effort to save Texas from the Democrat Marxists who stole power last November. This is a good move by the Texas lawmakers before Democrats steal their state like they did the swing states of the 2020 election cycle, like they stole California. Since communism is against the U.S. Constitution, it may be difficult to rule against a Texit. That's what they're talking about now. During the U.S. Capitol protest, talk about an amazing coincidence of timing. The FBI released their 284-page report on Nancy Pelosi's corrupt father and exposing her brother as a repeat child rapist. And of course, the corporate media did not look at this at all. Because after all, they had rioters to cover, and that's far, far more important here. So basically, again, they release the news they don't want covered when something else newsworthy is definitely happening. Okay, now, let's talk about COVID-19. It's still out there. It's still a big, big problem here. And Andrew Cuomo is conceding that the New York lockdown cannot continue much longer without collapsing the economy. And he's saying we simply cannot stay closed waiting for the vaccine to kick in. They're way, way behind schedule on vaccinating people. Basically, they're saying that relaxing the lockdowns will see an uptick in cases, but they're trying to balance the economic need against the medical need, and they're starting to back off a little bit here. Now, this is a story. It's actually a BitChute video, and we've got it linked to the front page of whatreallyhappened.com. The CDC is admitting that at least 96% of deaths attributed to COVID-19 were actually deaths from other causes. And of course, we have been commenting on that recently. My favorite one is the guy who was thrown from a car in a car accident, and his death certificate said died of COVID-19 because the virus was in his body. And apparently, again, in New York City, hundreds of vaccine appointment slots go unfilled because the city is demanding candidates answer 51 questions to get the shot. And Cuomo warns that even priority groups will have to wait up to 14 weeks. And apparently there's an online registration portal that's working about as well as the Obamacare website in its early days here. Down in Florida, hundreds of elderly people were photographed waiting in line for the coronavirus vaccine. They started at 3 in the morning. They were on scooters and lawn chairs, and they waited nearly 8 hours outside 2 senior citizen centers yesterday. Okay. Story coming on out of your destination now. Ivy League medical centers, including Harvard, Columbia, and Vanderbilt, are giving COVID-19 vaccines to thousands of young grads, techs, and administrators weeks ahead of their spots in line. So already people who think the vaccine is going to help them, they're cheating to get ahead. In fact, there was an article that I saw go by saying step 1 to get the vaccine, be rich. Now, right here in Indiana, we have become the 9th U.S. state to report a case of the UK super COVID that has now infected at least 65 people across America. This happened yesterday as well here. A lot of people are very concerned over the street celebration in Tuscaloosa after their team beat Ohio State 52-24 in the college football championship. And they were all out there, in the streets dancing around without masks. And so we'll be told that it's become a COVID virus hotspot here. Now, interestingly enough, Michigan wants to buy its own coronavirus vaccines. They don't want to go through the federal government. Oh, we got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back. Sorry, here we go. My mistake. Michigan wants to buy its own coronavirus vaccines and not go through the federal government. Governor Gretchen Whitmer is asking for Health and Human Services permission to purchase 100,000 doses directly from Pfizer as states start to ditch the CDC guidelines and take their own approaches to the vaccination process. Now, here is an interesting story, and it kind of touches on something I've mentioned before. It's from Zero Hedge, and it basically calls what we're seeing right now the emergence of the pandemic industrial complex. And it's out there saying that if the official numbers are to be believed, and they aren't, the United States is one of the worst hit countries in terms of COVID-19. And apparently there are supposedly 19 million COVID-19 cases with an alleged 300,000 deaths, which CDC has already said 96% really had nothing to do with COVID. But even at that 300,000, that's only a 1 to 2% chance of dying from COVID-19 if you get infected by it. There we are here. Over in Great Britain, the lockdown is just getting more and more severe there. And apparently they are seriously discussing only allowing people out of their homes once per week. You pick one day and you go out to do your errands, compulsory mask wearing, and you're not allowed to talk to anybody at the market, social separation. They're going to have curfews. Which always struck me as kind of weird because I don't think the COVID-19 virus knows how to tell time. And again, showing the link between social media and the selling of COVID-19, Twitter has blocked a link to an article in a peer-reviewed scientific journal that suggested the anti-parasitic drug ivermectin could be useful against COVID-19. And the platform claims that the journal's website is potentially unsafe. So apparently Twitter user Carl Denninger posted a link to an observational study in the European Journal of Medical and Health Sciences that found healthcare workers in Dhaka, Bangladesh, who were treated with ivermectin as pre-exposure prophylaxis were markedly less likely to become infected with COVID-19. And Twitter basically blacklisted this European medical journal because they're not out there joining the hue and cry to sell, Pfizer vaccines and Moderna vaccines and whoever else is coming on out with that. Okay, let's talk about the economy a little bit. Boy, the cryptocurrencies have shown a lot of volatility lately, and apparently more than $200 billion was wiped off the value of the global cryptocurrency market in just 24 hours after Bitcoin's value fell by more than 20% in just 4 days, which rang everybody's alarm bell. And it's a reminder that the problem with virtual currencies is they're not really backed by anything. There's no commodity backing to them. It's basically all, trust, and you can count on us to back this up. But cryptocurrency, I understand the draw to be able to conduct business without the government looking over your shoulder, but it doesn't really seem all that stable. Righty. Apparently, Signature Bank is closing Donald Trump's personal bank accounts, because he's the Orange Man or some such nonsense of like that. After 17 years of falling ticket sales, movie theaters got slaughtered in 2020. And, a big part of it is the fact that we can now watch movies on a big screen in home. The popcorn's a lot cheaper. It's a lot less expensive. But apparently, with the COVID-19 pandemic, ticket sales plunged by 31%. And apparently, a lot of theaters have closed and will not be reopening it. And there's only a few times I found the theater experience pleasant, and that was in some of the higher end theaters in Hollywood, like the Cinerama. But smaller theater, noisy kids and black jujubes hitting you on the back of the head. I really do prefer to watch on TV, which still has its issues here. All righty, getting on to immigration and globalism, Biden is pledging to launch a thorough investigation into Trump officials' border policy. And he's basically investigating the zero tolerance policy that involved putting adult border crossers into separate custody from the children that arrived at the southern border with. Now, this was actually started under the Obama administration, not Trump. Now, Trump had a speech earlier today, was covered, by streaming video from Fox, but not on the Fox main news channel or any other of the corporate media, where he was down there basically talking about the border wall and lauding it as one of the accomplishments of his presidency. So he's still out there. Over in Europe, apparently, Dutch police officers sparked fury after officers were filmed laughing at a British truck driver while confiscating his ham sandwiches in line with the post-Brexit import rules. And the driver said, "Can you take the meat and leave me the bread?" And apparently the officers were being less than polite. But the European Union does not allow for meat products, milk, or dairy products to be brought in from countries outside the Union for personal consumption. So they're, out there harassing the truck drivers for their ham sandwich. I mean, it's ridiculous here. All righty. Now, I mentioned earlier in the show, there's going to be a gun grab. There's absolutely no question there's going to be a gun grab here. And apparently, back on January 4th, the legislation was actually introduced. Now, the text of it is not available yet. Okay, but the bill itself is titled "To Provide for the Licensing of Firearm and Ammunition Possession and the Registration of Firearms and to Prohibit the Possession of Certain Ammunition." And so basically, they're going to, license ammunition possession now, apparently. So anyway, we'll see where that one goes here. AR15.com, which is the world's largest gun forum, has been booted from domain registrar GoDaddy. And I don't know if they were using GoDaddy's servers. If they weren't, they need to get on over to DirectNick, which has a more adult point of view regarding domain registration. All right, we're going to go ahead and open the phone lines. And the number, as always, is area code 512-248-8252. And getting on back to the news here, concern is growing, according to Activist Post, over how much influence big food has on public health policy. And I remember a while back when they had the food pyramid, and then it went to the food square, or it was the food square, then it went to the food pyramid, and the food pyramid de-emphasized meat, and the meat corporations got all upset, and they basically went back to the old one here. But underlying health conditions like obesity, heart disease, and diabetes have emerged as key factors in fatalities, with the COVID-19 virus. And in one study, more than 99% of COVID fatalities occurred among people who had these underlying medical conditions. So the concern here is that the food corporations, through lobbyists and campaign contributions, are trying to influence public health decisions in order to, make more money. And America does have an obesity problem. There's no question about that. And one of the reasons we do is our food is actually loaded up with chemicals that make us eat more. One of them is monosodium glutamate, which is sold as a flavor enhancer, but it interferes with the signal that says you're full. So you keep on eating. You eat more, you buy more, they make more money. Let's see, aspartame has the same effect. And then, of course, you've got all these growth hormones that are being pumped into cattle and chickens, which, if not fully metabolized, come on out with the meat and dairy products. And when consumed by people, those hormones are going to make you grow and fatten up the way they do the livestock here. All righty, let's go to the phone lines now to Dave in Delaware. Hello, Dave. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Mike? How you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, first I want to start off. You said you were thinking hopefully Biden was going to finish the wall.
I was joking.
I know. I mean, because it was going to be able to keep us in, right?
Yeah.
But my whole thing is, I don't know, I don't think Americans should flee the country. I think we should stay and, hold our ground.
Well,
right?
Look how many people fled Germany when the Nazis came to power, and how many people tried to leave the Soviet Union when Stalin came to power. I mean, it's a natural human reaction. We can all see which direction this usurping government is going. And if Claire and I were younger, we'd be thinking seriously about Costa Rica.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice there. We could surf or whatever. And then I just remember you were saying that you said that you went over all the things that Biden was going to do when he became president, and one of them was he was going to go against the First Amendment with hate speech laws.
Yes.
Yeah, but wasn't it Trump that put the original executive orders in there against hate speech laws and anti-Semitic laws on restricted free speech?
No, that goes back to Obama. That goes back to Obama. And then it doesn't matter what executive orders Trump signed, because Biden can sign a new executive order saying, we're going to switch policy on this. The executive orders are not engraved in stone.
They're going to use the definition off the State Department website of what is hate speech and what's anti-Semitic, though, and that was from under Trump. He signed the executive orders restricting free speech on college campuses.
Yeah, you're right about that one.
One more thing.
Yep.
Just one more thing. Hold on. I know you want to let me go because I'm already the gun grab stuff. You said January 4th, so they already had the laws written up January 4th when Trump was president.
Yes.
And then you said that Biden is going to put all these restrictions on arm braces and stuff like that. Well, Trump banned bump stocks. What's the difference between an arm brace on a short-barreled AR-15?
He fell for the false flag in Las Vegas.
Yeah, take the guns first and due process later. That's what Trump said.
Yeah, I know he did. Look, I'm very disappointed in Trump. Don't get me wrong. I supported him only because I didn't want Hillary in that White House, and I would have preferred Trump stay on for another 4 years rather than Joe Biden. But unfortunately, we've suffered a coup d'etat in this country.
I don't know about all that, Mike. Trump's the one that shut down the country. Don't ever forget that. He's the one that has everybody wearing a mask right now.
Well, Biden has already said it's going to be mandatory under threat of prison. So he's continuing and enlarging the same policy.
So exactly. So what's the difference between Trump and Biden and Hillary, Obama, all of them? So I'm saying these people got to break out of this left-right paradigm stuff, Mike. It's getting old.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you on that one here. And, instead of calling Washington, D.C. a swamp, I think it should be called a septic tank where the really big chunks float to the top.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, Mike, but the whole drain the swamp was just another big scam, too. He didn't do that. He filled the swamp. It was a talking point cooked up by Kushner with their Cambridge Analytica nonsense, man.
Okay.
Come on, Mike. I don't know, man. Like, I feel you, man. I'm just trying to point out, like, there's no difference between Trump and Biden. If people don't see it at this point, there's no hope for this country. Like, there's not. They're all owned by the bankers, Mike. You can watch the video of Joe Biden saying you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist, and he's a proud Zionist.
Yes.
If you look at Trump's office, he has awards all over the place, winning all these awards from synagogues and all that stuff. I mean, Mike, Trump Heights in Israel.
Yeah.
What did he do? He moved an embassy, Mike. What else did he do? Come on, man. I don't know. Anyway, all right, Mike. That's why I just want to put my 2 cents in, man. Have a good show. See you later, man.
All right. Thanks an awful lot, Dave. We're going to let you go and switch to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Funny, you mentioned all that stuff about the vaccine before.
Yes.
I listened a little bit to Trump's speech there in InfoWars, but I got disgusted for about a couple of minutes. I thought maybe he was talking about, taking, martial law or something like that. Instead, he's bragging about his so-called accomplishment,
Mm-hmm.
and he listed as right there second that filthy, disgusting, deadly vaccine that's now got all kinds of side effects to people. Is killing
Yes.
people like crazy. How about New York? New York State, some of these nursing homes there. I think even maybe that fool Cuomo was getting a message on this, even though he killed his share of nursing home patients in the beginning of this COVID scam. So, and here's Trump still bragging about it. I really don't think the guy's that smart. I know everybody thinks, that the guy is a genius for the chest and all this other nonsense, but he's not. He put all the wrong people in there when he took over.
Yeah, I pointed that out.
This is vaccines. By the way, I don't think there's any way Biden's either going to get a mandatory vaccine, lockdown, or anything else, or even confiscated guns, because that would probably trigger up right there secession, maybe even out and out civil war. He doesn't have. I don't think he has the military behind him to do that, and the FBI would get massacred if they tried to do it on their own. They wouldn't even have local police on their side, at least not in.
I don't think they would either.
So I don't know. Did he really say he wants to have mandatory vaccines though? Because
Yeah,
I know,
according to the article I was reading, yeah, they want mandatory vaccinations. Again, it's against the law, but they're applying all kinds of coercive means here. Spain is going to keep a registry of people who refuse the vaccination, which I guess will be searched at, potential employers and so forth and so on. Anyway, Mark, stay on the line. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to our show. We're still talking with Mark in North Carolina. And Mark, if you could pick up where you left off.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday in Texas, who lives in Texas still.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work with, and he was saying they're really serious about seceding from the United States. And
Yeah, well, I don't blame them.
I'm seriously thinking of moving to Texas again, moving back there. Amarillo, where I was living in, the cost of living is still very low. You can get a nice house for under $100,000 there, plus land.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, it's really tight. And supposedly, what he told me is that evidently that Governor Abbott backed off on some of this stuff. At the beginning, he was opposing mask mandates and all that stuff. Now he seemed to have backed off of that. I guess maybe they read him the Riot Act. Because remember, Colonel West is actually the head of the Republican Party there. He's the one who mentioned about the possibility of secession. Remember, after the Supreme Court turned down that petition by those 17 states?
Yes.
What was it, 19 states, something like that? And a lot of states evidently want to go along, thinking about going along with Texas.
Yeah.
You got to wonder, as far as the vaccine, I think it's more likely that Biden is going to use these all the horrors that are happening with the vaccine now to blame it on Trump. That would be fun,
he will, and he's justified because it was a brand new technology, and they rushed it out the door. We're seeing all kinds of adverse effects, and Trump owns this one.
Yeah, and he bragged on his speech today. That's why I turned it off. He said, "Oh, it only took us 9 months when everybody was saying it would take about 7 to 9 years." See, this is the thing, and it's a very nobody ever tried an mRNA vaccine before.
Mm-hmm.
This is horrible. Russia does Sputnik 5, not an mRNA vaccine. It's a traditional vaccine. I wouldn't take either vaccine. However, if somebody had a gun to my head, I'd take the Russian vaccine first. I'd take the Sputnik 5 vaccine if I had a gun to my head, I mean, because it's not mRNA. But he's, and by the way, Putin is not making it mandatory at all.
Nope.
He's not going to violate Russian people's civil rights. I was watching a couple of videos by a guy who moved to Russia. Actually, for all intents and he did it to save his own life because he had people after him. He was a whistleblower for the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department, very corrupt evidently, and he went to Russia. And he's living there now. He makes videos all the time. His name is Mark Dugan, and the guy is really. He said there's more freedom than in the United States right now.
I'm not surprised at that, Mark. I got to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification, and we'll be back with more phone calls after these few words. Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open. Area code 512-248-8252. And we're going to go to Joe in Tennessee. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. It's my belief that the death of the deep state will be officially started on January 6th, which is, besides the day of the Great Riot, and is my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
I don't know if anybody knows, but January 6th is and it's called Three Kings Day, or the Feast of the Epiphany, or Little Christmas. But it's the day that the three kings arrived, and Jesus was kind of known. It's basically an illuminating discovery day, So I think the American people, by their actions, and I think the most important thing about what happened on January 6th is what it's going to bring about. And although it's going to bring about probably some draconian rules and laws and all that, it's also going to bring about a huge awakening. And I think, I hear a lot of people criticizing Trump on all these minor things, and sort of minor. I think I look at him like, what was he supposed to do? It's kind of difficult to stop that. And, as far as, with the lockdown of the country, he's left it up to, the governors of the states to kind of do what they want. I mean, in North Dakota, they're not wearing masks.
No.
There's no federal law about wearing masks. If Biden's president, there's going to be a federal law. So I think to say that they're the same is kind of dishonest. And I want to thank President Trump because, when you hear about all these laws that are coming down the pike, President Trump gave us a 4-year reprieve from these laws because Hillary would have enacted them. And what he's done is he's built a 75 million man MAGA army in this country.
Yes. And
he's teed the ball up for the next coming Trump, which will happen as a reaction to the Democrats' overreaction and the fact that they had to put a president in there who everybody knows stole the election. And the next President Trump, the next nationalist populist that Trump has set up, it's not going to come in as nice as Trump. He's going to know he's got to destroy the media. He's going to see all the mistakes that Trump made, and he's going to have a huge army behind him, which Trump has left the American people awake. As a 9/11 truther who has been fighting the media and the deep state for 20 years, I realized when I found out about 9/11, I didn't go attack the Capitol. I started making DVDs and distributing them. I started telling people and informing them and awakening them. And that's what I see in Trump's major accomplishment as president. He has awoken the masses. America now is more nationalist and more populist than when Trump came in. People that didn't know, he is a very popular president to the average middle American. And they had to cheat to win this election. Even with COVID and the economy in the tank because of COVID, they still had to cheat. And the fraud they got up there, is so weak. I like our chances, and I think we're going to have to hunker down for a storm, no doubt about it. But at the same time, they're like building the gallows that they're going to hang themselves from. I mean, they're talking about sedition trials. I've been talking about sedition trials for 9/11 people for years, and everybody laughs at you. But now they're going to make it legitimate. They're going to legitimize sedition trials, which are going to turn around and used on them one day. So I'm looking at it like I see a lot of things that they might appear to be bad, but they're really not, because we were in a bad scene, 4 years before Trump came on, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Trump has given us a chance in this fight, a real chance. And I appreciate that from him, and I thank him for that. I'll be the first to admit he's made a lot of mistakes. He's disappointed me. He's done a lot of things that he could have done, but he's done, as far as a tool of awakening the people and illumination, the epiphany of the American people. There's never been a greater president than Donald Trump, and I always will like him for that. So I'll leave it at that, Mike, and thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the phone call, Joe. We're going to switch over to Don in Arizona. Hello, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. Yeah, one of all the people that got kicked off of YouTube, and they're on BitChute now. One of my favorites was Amazing Polly, and she's on BitChute. She still does some videos on BitChute. And one thing she said one time was, she said if she really had to wear a mask, she'd use she had a paper sack, a brown paper sack, and just put 2 holes in it.
Okay.
And that way you're kind of protesting. You're playing the game under protest, more or less. I mean, you're people can see, hey, this is ridiculous, but it satisfies the requirement. There's no regulations. So I tried that today. I wanted to get something at a store, and they're requiring masks, I guess, now. So I did that. But you know what happened was I put that paper sack on with 2 holes in it, and I went through the whole line and paid for my little bit of groceries that I bought. And the lady said, it's one of these stores where they don't sack them. They go get you a box. She said, I'll go get you a box. I said, no, I'll just put it in this sack. So I took the sack off my head, and I put the stuff. It wasn't planned out that way, but actually, she couldn't get, by that time, I'd already paid for the stuff, so she asked me to leave. I would just leave. Yeah, okay, I'm leaving. That was pretty funny, but I think that we should try to, and I don't see how the hell in any way Biden can say he's going to make everybody wear a mask. In America, you can't do that. Who's going to enforce it? The local cops are not going to enforce that. Just because Biden says, even if they pass some kind of a cockeyed law like that in the Congress, the cops are not. What is he going to use the FBI? He's going to expand the FBI to 3 million people or something, so he can use federal marshals. I mean, it's make it a federal crime. Is that what he's talking about? No,
I really don't know, but I mean, it is something that he mentioned on the campaign trail.
Yeah, I know he said that, but I don't think that's something that can actually take place. But you're talking about social media. MeWe is a pretty good one too. MEWE.
Okay.
They don't censor, and they say they don't sell your information either. So it's
I heard about that.
Gab, but MeWe is good, and it doesn't cost any money. Gab is they kind of want you to pay for the Gab Pro to get the to go all out on that to actually get somewhere. I'm not having good luck with Gab, but MeWe MeWe is a lot better and people are piling in there too. You don't hear much about MeWe, but compared to Gab, is getting all the notice. People are saying he's getting 500. I think they got more of a publicity campaign going. But MeWe's got it. We're getting a lot more people to just piling out of Facebook. They have a Mensa group there, and Mensa Firehouse group, and MeWe. A lot of the people are leaving various groups in Facebook, and they come and basically get on the same group in MeWe, which is a Facebook copy and has pretty much all the same groups. But they're not selling your information, and they don't censor. They have a lot of, you can say anything you want about anything. It's not, basically, you can cuss, you can do anything you want. So there's that, Mike. And I was going to ask you one other thing. Whatever happened to Richie Allen? He's missing in action, Richie Allen.
I really don't know. I mean, he called me about 3 weeks ago to come on his show, but I had a previous commitment for that time slot. So I don't know where he's gone now.
Dude, he hasn't been on at all for, hell, a month. More than a month.
Okay.
I don't know what he's not on YouTube. He's also not on his Richie Allen .uk or whatever it is, his website. So I don't wonder if he's in jail or he went to the hospital or something, or he's sick, or he might be in jail. The way he can fly off, he can kind of. Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll find out later. Eventually, he'll turn up somewhere.
Yes.
But yeah, he was a good one. And Ryan what's his name? Ryan Dawson. He's on BitChute.
Yes.
He mentions you. I watch him. He mentions you, Mike. There's a quote. He will quote Michael Rivero. There's something about let dictators act like dictators or something like that.
No, the fastest way to bring down a dictatorship is to force them to act like one where everybody can see it.
Yeah, he likes to use that quote, Ryan Dawson. He knows a lot about the Civil War. He does Civil War shows with his brother and stuff. So he's a pretty good thing. There's a lot of good stuff on BitChute. You can just surf around on there. Dollar Vigilante is good. He's a smart guy. Okay, I'll let you go, Mike. Thank you very much. All
right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Don in Arizona. Hello, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Don, are you there? Oh, that was Don. I'm sorry. We're going to Joe in Arkansas. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, the story about the nursing home in New York that you posted.
Yeah.
Of course, the local news department up there in New York, they're not saying it's because of the vaccine. They're calling it the COVID outbreak.
Yes.
I guess my question is there any way we can verify this? Because if this is true, this story needs to go all over the place.
Well, there have been a lot of reports from many different sources about people getting the vaccine and then coming down with COVID symptoms. That's what happened with my doctor. She came down with COVID after getting the vaccination. So, it's definitely a factor that has to be considered. And it's not the first time that a vaccine has actually caused the illness it's supposed to prevent. We were talking about Bill Gates' DTP vaccine in Africa actually killing 10 times as many people as the illnesses did. So, I mean, they're very reckless with all of this stuff. But again, the facts of the story about the nursing home is they had no COVID deaths. They apparently had no COVID cases. They all got vaccinated, and then all of a sudden they've got a couple of deaths and a lot of cases.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I just would like to get a little more, confirmation on it. So that I could send it out to people. And do you know of any?
No, I mean, just what was reported. And, of course, what's being reported is already being heavily filtered.
Okay. All right. That's all I got. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. We're going to go to Miles in Maine. Hello, Miles. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael.
Hi.
Hey, Michael, I still don't understand this guy from North Carolina. He gets on here and bangs on Trump every chance he gets. By the way, if he's going to move, why don't he move to one of those socialist nations he's in love with? But,
okay.
We don't need anybody banging on Trump right now. We've done that for 4 years. And
yes.
And people who
we need to start pounding on Biden.
Yeah. I mean, we need, we should have pounded on him before he ever got close to getting elected. But, Trump needs our support now. If it's not anything for the patriotism of it all. And I just think it's disingenuous. And then to bring, I wanted to touch base with you on this because I never heard Trump. Trump said the vaccination will not be mandatory as long as he's involved. All Trump ever said is because you got to remember, so many people do want this vaccine, as you can see by what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Trump said, well, if we have to, we'll get military distributed to make sure that it's distributed, evenly and properly throughout the country. He never said he'd make anybody take it. And that's where this caller from North Carolina, in my opinion, is in error. He's been in error on this entire situation.
Mm-hmm.
Trump has said he won't take it himself. And he said it won't be mandatory. He's mentioned. So, why are we still banging on Trump at the most vital point when he needs us more than ever? And I'm still not giving up. And it's like I said, when Trump's wrong, I'll tell you he's wrong.
Yes.
I think there's something there between Flynn and these attorneys and whoever. Don't count Trump out. Don't think he can't pull a rabbit out of the hat, because I think he can. And,
well, he's got about 1 week to do just that.
Well, wouldn't that be something if Inauguration Day came and when Biden stepped up to the podium and John Roberts stepped up to swear him in, and the United States Marine Corps or Navy SEALs took the whole damn bunch out and sent them to Guantanamo? Wouldn't that be something? They said your new president's Donald Trump.
It would be nice, but I really don't think it's going to happen. I mean, when Trump made his speech at the border wall today, I was watching his face, and he looked to me like a man who knows he's beaten.
Well, and you know what? And it's a good call by Joe, because, even if he is, like Joe said, look what he's put in place. But you know what? Look what he went up against. How long, and this is what I don't understand about the North Carolina call. How long has Trump said, I'm making enemies with some very powerful people?
Yes.
And apparently he's not familiar with the political game, because, even if you're a politician, and I'm advising a politician, even if that's not what you believe, you got to kind of acquiesce to the fact and go between the lines as to what's going on. Even though your heart might not be there, you can't turn off part of the people who just perhaps might be putting you in office. And I think Trump is that smart. He knows not to do that. But the caller from North Carolina, that's all he does is bang and rages about every little thing Trump went wrong. Well, look at all the people that have stabbed Trump in the back.
Yes.
Yes, all these advisors, all these congressmen. From day one, there were leaks coming out of his office. Now, you can blame Trump for that, for not getting rid of anybody, but who's not to say they wouldn't insert somebody else? They're the deep state. You know why? Because they're piled deep.
Yes.
And, any of these guys, and even if you're not, look, Roberts wasn't always this bad, but once they get you compromised, they own you. And you know
Yes.
that, Michael. I know you know that. But it's just ridiculous now in the most vital times we're going to, and it's not about Trump. It's about Biden. It's about what might walk into that office and walk into your life and send their agents into your front room. That's what it's about. It's not about Trump. It's not about what he didn't do or could have done. This election reform, I'm so sick of hearing it. Trump did try to do election reform. The blue state governors wouldn't allow it, just like they won't allow recounts in these elections and all the other things they do.
Yeah.
But I think, I just don't know with this Italian thing and these servers and that. If Trump brings this out and there's any kind of hint of our real military left, our military should have took control of this, in my opinion, a while back. A while back when they started seeing all this go on. Because it's clear. Remember what Obama said? He said he's going to be around. Well, he sure is.
Mm-hmm.
Look what these people. Remember, Michael, when he said he wanted a citizen military or something as powerful as the regular military? Remember when he was mentioning that?
I remember that.
Now I think I understand what he was talking about. Because these guys don't get prosecuted. Talk about powers. I mean, come on, this guy in Wisconsin that was firing away at Kyle Rittenhouse. He's already a convicted felon. He's got a gun. I mean, what are you telling me? I mean, these gun laws, they put people in jail if you had the wrong screw on your gun. If you had an old gun and bought a new screw when they had this pre-ban, post-ban, and all these other games they played, that was a 20-year felony for putting a screw in your gun to keep it together. This is how ridiculous this stuff gets. And so, it's just insane. And then Trump, listen, Trump's had more people against him than Julius Caesar. Stab him in the back. So, yeah, Trump has made some mistakes. And tell me one of these presidents who hasn't. And tell me any of them that have done as much as Trump in our lifetime, playing against, it's like picking Honolulu High School to play against the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. What do you expect? Not everybody's the U.S. Hockey team playing the Russians. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say.
You.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, at this point, Trump is passing into history, and we shouldn't pound on him. We need to turn our attention to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and basically, critique what their performance is going to be. Now, Trump, of course, is envisioning himself as a figurehead of the future Republican Party and leader of a movement. Anyway, Miles, got to let you go. Got to take a break.
One quick thing.
Oh, no. Go on hold. Go on hold. Go on hold. Stay on hold. We'll be right back. And welcome back to our show here. We're still talking with Miles in Maine, and you said you had one more thing you wanted to share with us.
Yes, Michael, since the Democrats are on this 25th Amendment gig, and Trump has said several times he'll take the exam if Biden does, let's take them up on that. This is the right time. Let's take them up on it. Also, you know what? Let's challenge Harris's birthright citizenship, and let's see if we can really follow them up. But you know what? And like Joe says, and many people, if we don't, this Republican Party has got to do something, or they're going to lose everybody anyway. I mean, it might be the Trump Party, but if they don't do something, everyone's walking from this Republican Party. But they just go ahead. They want the 25th. Make Biden take the same exam Trump as they want Trump to, and then right away, as soon as if they do get sworn in, right away start challenging. Just go after Harris like a shark and just tear her up. Michael, thank you so much. Have a great show.
Thank you very much here, and we're going to switch over to Layla in Canada. Long time no hear, Layla. What's on your mind?
I don't know where to begin. I was going to talk about high noon and the impeachment versus Trump invoking the Insurrection Act. But first I want to talk about how Trump is supposed to have given us an epiphany. I'm sorry, if the murder of JFK was not an epiphany, followed by the murder of his brother, Robert Kennedy, followed many years later by the son, JFK Jr., who was obviously a candidate. If that was not an epiphany for the informed and educated generation, then I don't know what is. But instead, we just sat back and we were amused by the crap, the silly stuff that they throw at us to distract us. And now, once again, we're being distracted by, I don't know, is the impeachment still up in the air? Is it still going to be acted on?
They're voting on it tomorrow.
Insurrection Act. They're going to debate it or actually act on it?
Well, there'll be a debate followed by a vote tomorrow, but they don't have the votes to convict and remove in the Senate. This is all about tarnishing Trump so that he can't run in 2024.
You think Trump cares? You think he didn't get out of this what he wanted? Now, I'm one of those who spent the last 6 years on the edge of my seat, desperately hoping that Trump would be elected during the campaign, and then during each year that followed during his term, I kept hoping he would do something that would actually correct the egregious errors or egregious sins that have occurred around the world. And he did nothing of serious substance.
He's a disappointment, no question.
That's a faithful understatement. Meanwhile, his great promoters who were flashing pretty little lights for us to look at, people like Steve Pieczenik and all of those, they've all vanished. And have you read the names of the people that Trump pardoned in his last few days?
Yeah, I did, and I'm still waiting to see Julian Assange and Edward Snowden on that list, and that is a terrible disappointment.
Yeah, and you know who he did? He did pardon? All a bunch of extremely criminal Zionists who have all contributed to Chabad Lubavitch, which is a fake Jewish or religion that was created in the 17th century in Poland. It's not the original Judaic religion that existed in ancient Canaan. So I'm beginning to believe, quite frankly, that this is all a scenario that they've all played out, with Trump playing the poor put-upon guy while being the controlled opposition who was giving them everything they wanted because he probably promised it before they allowed him to be elected and they financed his election, or because he's going to be rewarded after the election. Where do you think he'll go? You think he's going to stay? He's going to go all over to his nice little golf clubs. Then he's going to go to Israel where the weather's great, the country he helped to build. And he's going to have a wonderful time. And everybody who's going to suffer because Trump turned out to be such a disappointment is going to be paying the price. The next generation is on board with the Satanists. The next generation isn't us. They weren't educated the way we were.
No, they're not.
And believe in certain things. Yeah. So why are people talking about the next president who's going to be a Trumpian? There is going to be no next president who was the Trump we thought we were getting. I feel so cheated of 6 years of my life sitting there cheering for Trump when I had moments of doubt. And friends of mine said, hey, dummy, open your eyes. You're not that dumb. And I said, no, Trump is for real. I absolutely refuse to hear them. But now that I see who he's pardoned, and he also called the act a heinous act of the rioters that he gathered there and then incited. He didn't actually say go invade the Capitol, but he sure worked up their emotions. Just read Shakespeare's play of Mark Antony when he doesn't say go out there and tear down Rome. He just incites the crowd. I mean, it's the same game that's been played over and over and over again. The other thing that nobody is talking about is the United Nations. Don't bother to look at Kamala Harris and what's his name, Joe Biden, the corpse. Don't even bother looking at them. They're just the puppets on stage.
Okay,
I mean,
Layla.
look at behind the scenes, and the United Nations really need. Yeah.
Yeah, Layla, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. We've got other callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here, and we're going to go back to the phones to Peter in Los Angeles. Hello, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I'll tell you what, Layla always makes you think, doesn't she?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to call about a couple things. First off, I want everybody to celebrate the fact that Sheldon Adelson died yesterday.
Yes.
And good riddance to bad rubbish. And speaking of controlled opposition and a person who has financed elections, financed Trump's inauguration, and so on. And I yesterday I spoke a little bit about the articles that are starting to come out now that attack the United States Army. I think I mentioned that yesterday, and how it's an institution, according to the Guardian and other things that are now starting to come back into the United States and be repeated here. It's filled with white supremacists, Nazis, gangs, white gangs, of course, not black.
Okay.
And I want to go on with the new Patriot Act that you referred to, which is 20,000 pages long or something like that.
Yes.
That is going to be massively a massive manifestation of this anti-white thing, which is, of course, what the media barons, the people who can put Trump and sit him in a corner with a stooge hat on. They can't walk or talk or email or tweet or whatever unless they say so. And that's what he's effectively electronically. He's in a corner, facing the corner with a dunce hat on. And they've done that to the president, right? But here we have Biden also came out the other day, and he said that he was going to, for small business relief, for the COVID Great Reset, that I believe, and I'm pretty sure you believe the same thing, that is not what it seems. They're going to disperse money and aid to rebuild by race. And that at the very bottom of the list are white people. And so after wiping out disproportionately, probably, more white businesses than anybody else, who's going to get disproportionately the money? Well, it ain't going to be us. And they're dispersing money on behalf of race, and it's against us. Whose agenda is that? Again, the same people who you can't criticize and so on. Then if you go back a little further, there's 16 or 17 states who've said that the way they're going to disperse the COVID vaccine
is by race.
Is by race. And now, Mike, I don't believe in the COVID vaccine like most people here, and I'm not going to take it. But the point is, they believe in it. They believe it's life and death. They believe this is a life and death thing. And in a life and death situation, they're going to disperse it by race. And this is an agenda that, to his credit, with critical race theory and all that, at least Trump stood up and did his job on that, or tried to, belatedly, ineffectively, but more than anybody has done in the last 40 years. But these guys, the people that run the things, the people that run Facebook and Facebook or Google or whatever else, Sergey Brin and all that. Listen, that's their agenda. They know that they've got to slice and dice us up. That they have to. That 60% of the population, educated with money, has to be marginalized as much as possible. By the way, the next step will be the Asians, who also, there are more of them than there are of the Jews at 1.7%, and they're also highly educated and got some money. They won't tolerate that either. It's just a matter of time, but they got to get to us first, and they can't take on too many enemies at one time. But that's what they're doing, and it's the same racist agenda that they have in Israel. Where Palestinians and a non-Jew is a non-person, with the Noahide laws and all that kind of stuff. Where if you don't pay homage and accept the Jewish supremacy, you're out of luck. As a matter of fact, in the Noahide laws, they talk about beheading you if you don't do that, accept those laws. At any rate, I'm just pointing this out, that we have a government now that by policy is making what they consider to be life and death decisions based on race, and it ain't us. And it was somebody from a mixed marriage, and my daughter and everything else is mixed. I listen, I'm totally dedicated to equal opportunity, equal rights under the law, not equal outcome, but all that stuff. And we can't have a society where it's run by a bunch of oligarchs, and the only way they run it is to do it by dividing and conquering with race, and that's their methodology. So I just wanted to make that point today. I think it's an important one. Wanted to hear what you had to say on it.
Well, you don't cure racism by being racist. That's just the bottom line.
That's what I always thought, but yet they do.
Yes.
And where you can't say the words, you cannot say the words fraudulent election. Or you can't, and you can't criticize the Jew. Why can't you say fraudulent election? Well, because it points right back at the media people who were the main people making it a fraudulent election. And who are they? And you can't say, you can't criticize, you're not allowed to criticize the Jews at all, or Israel. And how many states now?
I think it's almost 30.
And it's expanding fast, because just last year was 26, then 28, and hell, you're probably more up on it than I am, Mike. So it probably is 30. 28 was the last number that I heard, but it's a moving target. And that's where we are headed. That's what they want us to be. It's a South Africa sort of complete loss of power and loss of status and loss of property and literally loss of life. Where you walk down the street and, hey, listen, the favorite pastime will be, the knockout game or something, if we're lucky.
Yeah, well, the people pushing this idea that any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic, they're very short-sighted, because if we're not allowed to criticize Israel, we're going to be spending a lot more time criticizing the government of the United States of America.
Well, yeah, and well, that's the First Amendment. Well, there used to be a First Amendment, and you can criticize anybody. We're not crying fire in a theater.
Yes.
I mean, they drop real bombs. Their policies, they murder real people. They shoot real bullets.
Yes.
You know, they bomb real people, and they dispossess real populations, and so they invade real neighbors, and you can't criticize them. You know, and of course, who's behind all that? Well, who's behind everything? Who's running this show? And that's what's going on here. And one of Trump's things is the guy never really could identify his own enemies. I believe that, he was a controlled opposition. And here we delivered this guy a massive, in the biggest voter turnout in history, right?
Yes.
Nobody disputes that. We delivered this guy a massive landslide. And first off, what did he do with it, with this 3D chess crap that everybody talked about? He mismanaged that into the fact that he's going to be lucky to be alive, in my opinion. They're going to hound him into nothingness.
They're out to destroy him. I mean, you know, they're talking about legal jeopardy, and you know, as soon as he's out of office, the Southern District of New York is coming after him. They don't just want him out of the White House; they want him totally destroyed, so there's no chance he's going to come back and exact revenge.
That's right, and by the way, that's what they didn't like about him to begin with. Even though, you know, they controlled him with Adelson's money and other people's money, but the fact of the matter is, they looked at the MAGA movement as the germination, the first of a white political identity. After all these years of being crapped on, right? After all these years of being at the end of the line of everything else, and there's no way that the real owners of this country, the real movers and shakers, the media bears, the bank guys, that they can ever allow us to have a political identity.
Yeah.
Or anybody else, you know? And so they will hound this guy into nothingness. And they will never allow the reemergence or rebranding of that MAGA in any way, because that's the way they view it. It's a threat to them. America first, oh my God, that must mean...
Well, it's also a threat to the globalists. That's
right.
Yep.
And who are they?
I know.
They're all the same people.
Yep.
So that's my thing for the day, Mike. But this is more sinister. This is really more sinister than anybody's really talking about in a big way with this whole anti-white thing. It's very bad. Life and death decisions are being made based on it. That's it for me, Mike. I got to run off here. But thank you so much for indulging me.
All right. Well, thank you, Peter. We're going to go to John in Austin. Hello, John. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. I had a caller earlier on asking about Richie Allen.
Yes.
He's just been on holiday for Christmas and New Year. He was gone for 2 weeks here, but he's back.
Okay, good.
Now he doesn't post. He doesn't post up on YouTube anymore because of the censorship.
Yes.
And from over here, the only way I can listen to him live is on his page, richieallen.co.uk. And when that page comes up, there's a blue panel on it, and on the bottom left-hand corner, there's the word "Here." You need to click on that, and you'll get him live. He now has a Facebook page where he'll post the day's show later on in the day, so you can always catch him on Facebook. Now, while I was sitting there on hold, Michael, I heard Layla call in, and I just want to share a wee something with you and her if she's still listening. Do you remember it's almost three years ago when they moved the American embassy to Jerusalem?
Yes.
Now, I'm a bit of a passionate supporter of the Palestine cause, and I was sitting here listening to you that day, scrolling down my Facebook page, and someone had posted a video there, a split-screen video of that ceremony going on at Jerusalem, and the other half was the kids being shot at the fence, the Gaza fence down there.
Yes.
And the next thing I knew was I had passed out, and I ended up being rushed to hospital and having a pacemaker put in me. It pissed me off so much. That's what it did to me.
Okay, well, I hope you're feeling better. And anything else?
Well, I am now.
Okay.
Just one last thing. If anyone wants to see a side of Donald Trump that they probably don't see often, look for a video called "You've Been Trumped." You get it on Amazon or Vimeo. It's about his golf course in Aberdeen in Scotland. And it shows you just what a sweetheart the guy is. And I'll leave it at that. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. We're going to switch over to Al in Canada. Hello, Al. Thank you for waiting patiently. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Do you have other callers waiting?
I got another one, yeah, but you've got some time.
Okay, because if you had lots, I was just going to say everything what Peter said, and I was going to say goodbye. But he hit something. He hit the nail right on the head, and he just kind of rushed right by it. The social media thing. Who's doing all this, Mike?
Well, that's a really big question. Who's really calling the shots here? Because it's hard to imagine the CEO of Twitter willing to take $5 billion off the worth of his company to silence Donald Trump. So somebody had to be pulling his strings.
Oh, yeah. Well, definitely. But here's the thing. How does this even happen? Anybody that uses Twitter, anybody that uses Facebook, anybody that uses Instagram, anybody that uses a cell phone, anybody that walks into a government office and says, hey, jack me up with the GPS so you know where I am every day, they're the ones to blame. You're doing this to yourselves. You go on these sites, you get nothing for it, except, this mental thing, and someone collects a bunch of your data and they sell it. You get pulverized with commercials,
yes,
indoctrination, propaganda, crapola, and these people get rich and richer and richer, and then they use that cash against you people.
Yes,
I don't
well, they certainly
partake in
did
any of them, Mike. When I say you people, I mean everybody except me.
Okay.
I don't use a cell phone. I do not use a cell phone. And I do not use any social media whatsoever.
Well, I haven't used Twitter or Facebook for years now. I'm getting on Gab, and I do love my cell phone, and I know it's a tracking device.
Oh yeah, well, you know all this stuff, right? But here's the thing, and I submit this to you. Have you ever thought about, like right now, I'm watching you on YouTube, right? Have you ever thought about, just doing Skype on your own website?
You mean for the caller to call into the show?
YouTube's not even involved. Yeah.
Well, we're looking for an alternative to YouTube because, they're already blocking uploads on my existing channel. That's why I had to put Claire's Corner over on BitChute, and I'm going to be using BitChute from now on. But we're looking for a streaming alternative. BitChute says it'll be there soon, but it's not there yet. But we're definitely looking for an alternative because with the way YouTube's been behaving, I figure it's only a matter of time before they yank our channel.
Yeah, well, I figured that a long time ago. But, I would much rather just go to your website and instead of clicking on a link, just, click on the video and just sit there and wait a couple of minutes or do whatever I'm doing until you come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, why is
well,
that
it
not
used
possible?
to work like that, but YouTube changed the API. The automated streaming doesn't work for us. Say again?
Just get away from the YouTube thing.
Yeah, we are.
We're
going. Yeah, we're looking for an alternative right now. Okay.
It's just bypass YouTube because obviously this stuff is not working for us. It's working against us.
Okay.
When I say us, I mean people that actually enjoy something called free speech. Without having to be,
Okay, Al, I got to let you go.
Your shoulder. Right?
Sorry, I got to let you go. We got to take our
Mike.
last commercial break. Back with another phone call after these few words. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today. We're going to go to James in Charlotte. Hello, James. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes. Hello, Mike.
Hello.
I wanted to know, have you yet reported on the Capitol building police officer who committed suicide?
I haven't reported on it. I did hear about it, though.
Yeah, well, let me just give you a few quick facts, and maybe you might want to follow up.
Okay.
The officer's name is Howard Liebengood. I'm not sure exactly what rank he was, but he was the son of a former Senate Sergeant in Arms, which is the highest ranking police officer in the Capitol, or in the Senate portion of the Capitol. And he was on duty during the disturbances, the riot, if you want. I'm not sure. I was trying to find out if he was in fact one of, or possibly even commanding the group that basically opened the doors and let the demonstrators in.
Okay.
It looks to me he would have been in a situation where he could have, but he was 51 years old, and the few details that have been released, they didn't say how he committed suicide, but it was at his home. So,
well, he could have been suicided, like Gary Webb was, who we are told shot himself in the back of the head twice.
Yeah, well, if more details do come out that look that either don't fit or look in any way suspicious, I mean, you may want to take a look and see.
Yeah.
And find out. But like I say, there have been very few details released, but somebody, in my opinion, was in on the
yes. And somebody may be cleaning up the loose ends. All right, well, listen, Chris, I'll look into it. I need to let you go. We're almost out of time, and I want to go. I'm sorry, James, I need to let you go. And we're going to go to Chris in Clearwater. Hello, Chris. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, you're just asking what streams allow you to stream live video, and yes. I'll email these to you if you like.
I would love it.
All right, will do after my call. BitTube.tv, brandnewtube.com, DLive.tv, that's D as in door, live.tv, float.app, F as in Frank, LOTE.app as an application. Periscope.tv, as of course you know, is owned by Twitter. Twitch.tv and Vaughn.live, V as in victory, AUGH, and as in Nancy.live. Or VaughnLive.tv, you can get there that way also. And the Highwire with Del Bigtree streams live on all of them. And also some solutions to all the web censorship, whether it's of domains or of hosting, was covered kind of pretty well yesterday.
Yeah.
Gave me some.
Chris, I'm sorry to cut you off. We got to let you go. The music's playing. My apologies to those who are still on hold. Please call in tomorrow. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We'll see you tomorrow. Aloha, America.